Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Hello.
Hello.
I am doing something that I almost always forget to do, which is I'm talking about the books that we're reading at the beginning of the month so that you can read along if you want to read with us. Okay.
In fact, one of these is a book that we've mentioned
Well,
before.
you've had a lot of time to read this one.
If you've been paying attention for months,
yes,
then you know that this one's coming.
You knew that, well, maybe you know that we were supposed to have a book club back in August. And because of various things that went on, see chapter 7 of Forever Alone, which came out 2 days ago for more on that.
More intel.
But also my grandma dying, and there was a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
We did not record the book club episode that we were supposed to, but we said we would be back to read it in October. Here we are. It is October. So if you want, we are going to be, well, I'm already halfway through it, but we are reading Effortless by Greg McKeown. It is the sequel to Essentialism. I don't think you have to have read Essentialism in order to read Effortless.
Although many of our clients who have worked with us are going to be familiar with Essentialism, and maybe other people too, because it has been a bestseller as far as I know. But he has come out with this. It's not really...
It's like a follow-up.
I guess it's kind of a follow-up, but it is its own topic too.
Yeah.
About Effortless. We have a lot of opinions about this that you will hear when we give
on the 29th, when we actually do the book club episode. I have I'm really struggling not to share them right now. But suffice it to say, if you want a man's take on masculine versus feminine energy without knowing what he's actually talking about, he doesn't know those terms, it's an interesting read.
It is interesting. I think we both feel a little bit torn, but also interested enough to want to have a conversation about it.
Yeah. So we're reading that. That's one thing that we're going to be reading. The other thing is that later this month, our community is going to be doing a book club as well, but it's going to be on a novel. So on Sunday, the 24th in the evening, I think we're going to do it at 7:00 Eastern time. We haven't actually voted on the book yet, so I don't have the actual book that we're going to be doing, but in reverence to October and all things Halloween and witchy, we're going to be picking a fictional book, like a novel that's very witchy in nature, and we're going to be reading that.
This is
for fun.
First Clarity on Fire, completely fictional. Well,
that's not true.
Well, we had one fictional book before now.
We did a book club months ago that involved a fictional book.
We did, but
we gave them two options.
It was... Oh, that's right.
There was a novel and there was...
I was thinking of bonus book clubs. We always do coachy type, personal development-y type books.
Yeah, but this isn't a bonus book club. This is a community book club.
I know, but they don't get to see that on the normal podcast is what I'm saying. So if you wanted to come have just a purely fun fictional book club with Clarity on Fire people, you got to go to the community for that, because that's not something we do in the standard podcast.
Yes. So if you want to read a witchy novel just for fun and hang out and talk to other people who also like reading books, then join our Patreon. We are at patreon.com/clarityonfire. Link is in the show notes if you want it. And in order to join that, you have to be part of our Flame tier. We have 2 tiers. Spark, which is just bonus content. So about once a month, we'll put out a bonus episode of some kind. And then the Flame tier is you get that, but you also get monthly meetups, which sometimes they're book clubs. Last month, we had a tarot workshop, which actually we recorded so that you could actually go back and watch that one. We have quarterly Krachel Q&As, which we record our Krachel hangouts. And we also have a Discord channel. So people are chatting every day about like the artist's way and career stuff. And I don't know, just like real talk about anything.
And this is for $6 a month.
Yes.
Is the flame
Cannot
tier.
stress enough that it's only $6.
If all you want is content, a little bit of bonus content here,
$3.
$3 a month. You can't even get a latte for $3 a month.
I mean, you can barely get a latte for $6.
I mean, no, especially if you want to get like
all the works,
oat milk and an extra shot of, I mean, you know,
if you want to get like a white girl latte,
sure,
like a really high maintenance, annoying one. Yeah. It's about the same price.
Yeah, so
but it's not
your fancy latte, or you get a whole community.
Yeah. It's not nearly as annoying. Though we are both white girls. I just hope I'm not as basic as all that.
I mean, I do like oat milk in my lattes.
Pretty basic, let's be honest.
You know, I'm not going to hate on the oat milk.
I like oat milk. I don't purchase it for myself. It's ungodly expensive.
I know, but it's so good.
Just get that coconut milk, man. It's so much cheaper.
I mean, or almond milk, all the above.
Yeah.
Anyway, you could get that, or you could get a whole community of Clarity on Fire people.
Yeah.
For $6. So really, it's a no-brainer if you ask me.
Yeah. You should really, we have so much good stuff in there. So much, like we have 6-7 months of content in there now. Lots of bonus episodes.
Lots to binge. If you love our podcast, why are you not in Patreon? There's so much more.
Because there's a lot more extra crap in there.
For almost nothing.
And other people who also like the same stuff and want to talk about it and hang out.
That's really why we made it. We made it because we wanted Clarity on Fire people to have access to one another.
Yes.
But then we wanted to give them some cool stuff once they were in that community. So that sounds good to you.
And in a couple days, if you like chapter 7 of Forever Alone, in a few days, I'm putting out a bonus episode in the series I'm doing about dating with my friend and former client, Katie Beth, who's also a member of our Patreon. And I'm going to be talking even more in detail about the events of chapter 7 of Forever Alone. So
if you enjoyed that and you want more behind
more about that this month. Okay. So that's all that. Okay.
And before we even get to the actual Dear Krachel questions that we have today, we got an update.
Yes. So
I past question asker.
Recently, I shamed people into not sending me updates, and it worked on somebody. So we got an update from someone we gave advice to back in November of 2020. So I will link to that episode that we gave her advice. Her moniker was Tribe of One. And if you will recall, if you are an avid listener, you might remember her parents had each moved on to new relationships after being married for like over 30 years, but they got divorced. And they each have new significant others, but neither of the significant others showed any interest in getting to know or having a relationship with Tribe of One. And she was asking how to be more accepting of people who don't care about having a relationship with you. And our advice in a nutshell was you need to focus less on the step parents and more on you need to air out your grievances with your parents because it's their responsibility to facilitate a relationship between their spouses and their children, you. And she's an only child, so that was hard for her because she didn't have to share. She couldn't share that burden with anybody else.
And the more important relationship here was between her and her parents, not between her and their significant others.
So this is a rather long update, but I did cut it down a little bit, but I wanted you to hear it in its totality because it's not an update where it's like, everything's peachy now, thanks. It's like a nuanced update. And I think that's real life.
Yes.
So go ahead and read it.
Okay. I realized you guys were right. I always like when an update starts.
Yeah, sure. I definitely like that. You can keep going.
I was directing a lot of the frustration I felt at the significant others instead of my parents. By the time I submitted my question to you guys, I talked with my mom about her husband's aloofness a couple of times, with him a few times, and then with the both of them together once as well. Each time, nothing changed, or things changed for a few weeks and then just went back to normal. So by then, I was pretty fed up, as you can imagine. I decided that rather than talking to her about things again, I would share the podcast episode so she could hear it from someone else. I figured maybe that was what she needed. A little later, I asked what she thought about it, and she said, I feel like they don't have enough context about the situation.
Yeah, classic.
Right. It was at that point that I realized nothing I said or did was going to change her mind. Over the next few months, I worked on coming to terms with that. At one point, she and I were talking about how fun it would be for her to one day be a grandparent. And she said, I'm excited for you to have kids and bring them over so my husband and I can take them fun places. I didn't mean to, but I laughed. When she asked what I was laughing about, I said, Mom, respectfully, my kids will never be around him. I've put up with him for you, but I won't let my kids see me treated with that level of disrespect and think it's okay to accept for themselves. She was taken aback and said, I think that's sad. I said, I do too, Mom, but that's how it's going to be. That conversation has changed my relationship with my mom. I realized that I can't change her or him, but I can change my relationship to them. So that's what I've done. She's texted me a few times to try to get back in regular contact, but I've told her that unless things change on her end, I won't reestablish the connection. It's not just that. There were a few things between her and I that also needed to change. And for the first time ever, I haven't felt so bad about setting boundaries or so desperate to talk to her that I cave. It's a good feeling. As for my dad, I figured that the changes with my mom were enough for a while, and I'd get to the relationship with my dad when the time was right. That time is now. Over the last few months, I've really made an effort with his significant other, but living and working in close proximity to her has been a nightmare. It took me a long time to see that she feels the need to always be right and is unwilling to compromise. I recently shared with my dad how frustrating that was, and it was not well received. Part of me had been wondering why, in the several months of living with them, I hadn't been able to find a new job. I was like, God, help a sister out. I know I'm here for a reason. Please let me know what it is so I can get past this. I'm seeing those threads come together. And even though my dad was not happy with our short conversation, it literally kept him up that night until 4 a.m. I can see the wheels turning, but I'm also not attached to the outcome. Either way, he knows where I stand now. There's a lot of work to still be done, like a ton, but I feel better about the situation. Tribe of one. To me, like that's a win.
Great update.
That's a win.
Yeah.
And the point was never to change everyone in the situation, your parents, their significant others, and make it all a beautiful.
No, it's for you to feel better
a beautiful,
about it.
Family, like a sitcom family. That was not what it was meant to be. The point was for you to feel better and to feel like you were standing up for yourself. And that is clear.
I also left in that part about her being like, why am I not getting a job? I'm like, maybe because you're surrounded by people, by someone who's kind of bringing you down, but you being vocal and setting those boundaries and then not being attached to the outcome might actually have loosened up the space for you to receive what you've been wanting. Because I'm telling you, sometimes that crap takes up the space of something that you've been trying to receive and it's just not coming.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, what you're surrounded by all the time affects your energy, affects your mentality, affects even how you see yourself sometimes. So by changing the dynamic of your living situation, it very well might crack something open on the career side.
Also just being empowered, which is what she is. She's like, I'm not going to allow you guys to set the tone of how I feel and how I'm treated. I'm going to set the tone and you're going to fall in line or not, but I'm going to be okay.
And I'm not going to get so attached to the outcome that I lose my footing after speaking my piece.
Yep. So good for you, Tribe of One. You've made a lot of progress in the last year. And I'm sorry that it wasn't the magical like family happiness that, ultimately you were probably imagining. But if I had to pick that, or I had to pick you being like empowered and sovereign, I would have picked that any day of the week.
Oh yeah.
Over dysfunctional family,
Powerful update, I think.
Thank you. Okay. So now we have a couple Dear Krachel questions. And also thank you guys, because we sent out an email recently about, we just like put out a call for Dear Krachel questions and we did get some. But obviously we couldn't include all of them in one episode. So if you don't hear your question answered today, come back in November because I very well might answer it then. Okay. We have 2 questions. Dear Krachel, does anyone have a good way to explain feminine energy and our need for it to male coworkers? Calling it feminine energy shuts even my husband down. It's like a threat to masculinity, but there's got to be a way to talk about it. Jane.
This is such a good
You're
question.
right, Jane. There is a way to talk about it, but you're also right that it's kind of annoying that if you say, hey, I need you to have more feminine energy, your male coworkers are going to be confused and then probably emasculated because that's the society that we live in.
And you don't have to use those terms anyway.
No.
It's not really about what it's called. It's about sharing needs and sharing differences and just having a respect for people being wired differently. That we can find any kind of words to talk about. I do think it's interesting how we started this episode by saying we're going to be reading and talking about a book later this month, which is essentially a man's version of feminine energy.
It really is.
So honestly, one of the first things I think when I hear your question is, it might be valuable to read that book and to hear how does a man describe this in a way that makes sense to him.
And trust me, this man has never heard of feminine energy, I don't think, as a concept. He thinks he discovered it, which is one of my qualms with the book, to be honest. He doesn't realize this isn't all brand new information to a lot of the women reading it. But you know what? You got to,
But it is brand new information to a lot of men.
Yes. So you got to give him that.
And he's describing it in a way that makes sense to him and in a way that will likely make sense to not just men, but people new to the concept of feminine energy. Because to be honest, I've had a lot of women who feel resistant to even the term feminine energy.
Yeah. And let alone what it actually means.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So as an introduction to this other way of being, you might find some helpful vocabulary and ways of talking about it there. No, I'm not going to just leave you to go read a book or give you
just go read Effortless, Jane, and that answers your question. That's kind of a cop-out.
Right. So that's just a resource. But what I do think might be a good starting place for you, you don't have to use any of these terms. You don't even have to talk about energy at all. But there are certain things that you can probably get on the same page about. For example, if you're talking to male coworkers or just coworkers who have a lot of masculine energy in the first place, I think you could probably get them on board with a statement like, well, I think we all know that when you have a balance of work and rest, those things complement each other. If you just work and never have periods of rest and rejuvenation, you get burnt out. If all you're doing is resting, you're not feeling like you're really contributing or doing something that feels really meaningful. You need both.
Yeah. And some people need more than others. Not everyone needs the exact same balance.
Sure. And I think they would probably be able to look around at all the different people they've met throughout their years and know some people tend to need a different balance of rest and work.
I think it's important to establish buy-in and common ground.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when you kind of start out the phrase with like, I think we can both agree, or can you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or how much would do you agree with the idea that, for example, like, I don't know, you could use an example, like you can't work out for 8 hours a day and then expect to be even more fit. At a certain point, work actually becomes detrimental. Yep. And if you're not resting, for example, you're not actually doing your body or your mind a favor. And so there is an ideal balance. It's slightly different for everybody, but an ideal balance between those two things in order for them to fuel each other.
You could even say something like, I've worked with a personal trainer who was sharing with me that the off days are just as important as the days that you exercise because you're repairing and strengthening on the off days. And that's how I view a lot of things in work is the downtime is actually very necessary and life-giving. And you could also do it with logic versus creativity. Maybe you don't even have to use the word intuition necessarily because
that could shut people down who are afraid of it.
Sure. But creativity, we all know that comes from a very different place than pure logic and rationality. And most people value both and recognize that they are opposites in a way, but they are complementary. And when you share things like this, what you're essentially doing is you're sharing yin and yangs in terms that most people can agree with. And then the way you did talk about it is some people need a little bit more yin, some people need a little bit more yang, some people need a little bit more creativity, some people operate a little bit more from logic. And all of that's good. We're not meant to be exactly the same in our strengths, in our preferences. That's talking about feminine energy without ever having to use the word feminine energy.
I mean, if you want to get kind of snarky, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, and also what I'm about to say could lead to a sexual harassment lawsuit. So be careful.
So maybe watch yourself before you take Rachel's advice.
Like, I feel like if it were me and I was comfortable being snarky with someone, I would be like, did you like, I'm assuming who you're talking to is a straight white man. Okay. Did you choose being straight? No. Do you believe people choose their sexual orientation? At this point, he's probably going to say no. And if he doesn't, well, we got bigger problems. Then you would agree then how people are wired is a little bit innate, a little bit inborn. Yeah. Okay, well, guess what? People's preferences for how they rest and how they work and whether they want structure or a little bit more freedom or flexibility also is innate. And we can't treat everyone as if they're wired the same. Just like we can't treat everyone like they're straight. And we can't treat everyone like they're extroverts, right? Like people are wired differently. Right. And when we respect that, then we actually have a better, happier, more productive workforce. And I can prove it if you let us actually make those changes.
Maybe in the workplace, the extrovert introvert analogies maybe a safer one than sexual orientation. But you know your workplace better than
I warned you that you could get sued, okay?
But actually, I think that's a great analogy. Most people would agree you don't choose if you're an introvert or an extrovert. You're just wired that way.
Right.
So you don't choose what balance of work and rest and creativity and logic or whatever terms you want to use, what balance of that you're made up of.
Right. But if you honor how people are wired, you're going to get the best out of them and you're going to get different things out of them than you would have had you forced them to try to fit into your mold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just trying to get buy-in that like their mold isn't the only right way to do it, which is sometimes an uphill battle.
Mm-hmm.
And I also I really hate that like it's the burden of change is on the person who's more affected negatively by it. Because when you're sitting in that pretty place of privilege, nice alliteration, Rachel, that you're not motivated to have to make any changes. It's already working for you.
We don't have to explain masculine energy because our society already naturally operates
and
that
they're
way.
Already benefiting from it.
Again, I'm speaking mostly of American society and
yeah, there's some places that way more value feminine energy in the world.
And you wouldn't have to explain this so much because
the French would be like,
but
we already take. I can't do a French accent that well. But we already have August off, right? Like.
This is why I want to live in Italy, because I feel like they appreciate the slower pace and enjoying the sensations of life and the food and they get it. They are on board. But you know what? I don't imagine you're probably living in one of those places or else you wouldn't be having this challenge, in which case we might have to explain this because it's not as valued in our society. But we're trying to change that. So thank you for having these conversations.
Yeah, thanks for
being starting to make this change and get people on board.
All right, Jane, let us know how that one resonates with you. And if you try it, another update I would appreciate.
Yes, I would love to hear that one.
All right. And the next question. Dear Krachel, I moved to a new state and quit my job early this summer. I had all these grandiose ideas that I'd take the summer off and find my dream job that I deserved. After much research and applying, I found that finding this dream job was harder than I thought. I don't have the experience they're looking for. I applied for a job that sounded promising in an industry that's new to me. It also took 2 months to get looked at since they receive a lot of applications. I saw the hiring pay range was lower than I was already making, but I thought for sure I'd qualify for the higher amount in this pay range considering my degree and other experience. I got the job, but they gave me a much lower salary than I'd hoped. I still took the job, but now I'm trying to reconcile the feelings of thinking I've shot myself in the foot versus believing this job will take me places and is just a start. They did say they believe in advancement and training, but I'm trying to get excited despite the fact that I'll be making substantially less. Mind you, I didn't like my previous job, so clearly money isn't everything. How can I silence my ego and fully appreciate this opportunity as something potentially great? I need to believe a lower salary for now is just my shit sandwich for getting a better career in the long run. Yuba Love.
I believe we've had a question from Yuba Love.
I think we had years ago. Yes.
The first thing I want to point out is probably not what Yuba Love is expecting.
I have a lot to say to Yuba Love that they might not like to hear or be expecting.
I think we have multiple places we want to poke into this for a good reason. The first one, though, is they said that applied for a job, saw the salary range, was not thrilled because the whole range was lower.
Even the higher range was lower than what they were already making.
Yes. But at least figured I'll probably fall into the higher range, and then was still disappointed
and then got
by
the lower
offer
range
and said, but I still took it. And so I know we don't have this answer, but my hunch from the way this was worded is that they may not have negotiated. Did you ask for more? That's a big question I had. So this is one I also preemptively want an update about because I have further questions.
Like Yuba Love, please tell me that I'm wrong.
By the way,
I would put money on the fact that you didn't negotiate.
I know that Yuba Love is a girl, so we can say she.
Yes.
Because this was one of my people. But I get the sense, and I don't know this, but I get the sense that you just got an offer and said, well, I guess if I want this job, I have to take that.
But think about everything that she said. It took months to even get looked at.
And so many people were applying.
And
I didn't have all the right experience because this is a new industry.
Yep.
So you can see what
came out from a little bit of a lack mentality, understandably, feeling like, oh, there's all these other sharks circling. I got to just take whatever I can get if I want to make a change.
Not sure if I feel quite experienced enough for this new industry.
A lot of fear, a lot of potential self-worth issues going on here that led you to, maybe out of fear, take something without potentially asking for what you really deserve.
Not to mention, far too many women are already uncomfortable with negotiation and often don't even try. So all of those things lead me to wonder, did we try? In which case, if it feels like you had to accept it, there's a little bit more resentment that can come in that scenario. I know it sounds a little too late because it sounds like you've accepted and it maybe even started by now, but I want to plant that seed for a couple of reasons. First of all, for the future, you can always negotiate. You can always ask. I have almost never heard of a company withdrawing a job offer because you tried to negotiate.
No.
They might say no, but that you're almost never going to lose the offer. I mean, I can't even think of a time that's been true. So if that's your fear, I would say that's probably like 1% chance of happening, if that. But I'm also bringing this up because I don't actually think it's too late for you in this job. I think you can still negotiate once you're in the job. And I would say, I actually highly recommend that you do continue to negotiate while in this job.
Okay, but before we go down that road, because I think that's ultimately, where you're getting at is the solution. And I don't want to talk about the solution yet because I got more qualms with it.
Okay, bring up more qualms.
Okay. She said, how can I silence my ego and fully appreciate this opportunity as something potentially great? I don't think this is your ego. This is what your ego probably doesn't want to hear, ironically enough. I think calling something your ego is a really convenient way to like shame you out of legitimate feelings of not getting what you deserved. If you're like, oh, my ego just wants to be paid more, that's a really easy way to not have to look at, I didn't ask for more and I probably should have. And now I'm kicking myself. It's not, I don't think that's your ego. I think you're legitimately resentful that you're not being paid as much as you probably need to be paid. And you're allowed to be pissed about that at yourself if you need to be, and maybe at other people for undervaluing you, but we're not going to then gaslight ourselves and call it ego because it's money. It's so easy to do, right? Oh, I'm just selfish. I'm just asking for too much. It
shouldn't be about the money.
Shouldn't be about the money. I'm like, but it is about the money because you're resentful that you're not getting paid more.
And money is just a way of exchanging value. So if you think, hey, here I am showing up every day and doing this good work, and I don't feel like I'm getting the amount in return that feels of value to the service, then again, it's not about the money. It's about, does this feel like an equal exchange?
And it doesn't.
And if it doesn't, then I'm going to feel resentful of all that I'm putting in. And
but
that
because
is
I can't change it, because I've already said yes, I've already taken it. Now I can't change it.
I need to become okay with it.
And so I'm going to call it ego that I'm asking for more and that I think I deserve better. I'm going to say I have a big head, because then that's a problem I feel like I can address. Because then it's just something wrong with me that I need to change, as opposed to something wrong with the situation that I feel powerless to change. Here's the thing. You're not powerless to change this situation. So instead of trying to make you have a smaller head, which is not actually smart anyway, because you should have had a bigger head when you took this job. You know what I mean? You should have already asked for more. So I can't make you into I can't turn you into a peanut head. Like that's not a good idea, right? Like it's already coming from a place of insecurity that I don't think that you didn't get what you actually deserve, right? So that's not the right solution, is to try to like deflate your ego. No. What we need to inflate is your confidence.
Yes.
And what I would do is, okay, because she said, hold on, I have to quote it, because they said they believe in advancement and training. That's like dating a man and he's telling you something like, oh yeah, I believe in treating women well. Well, we'll see, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. I've met a lot of men who say they believe in something and
I do
can't
also
follow through.
I like a company who says we believe in advancement and training, but we pay poorly.
Right. Exactly.
So does advancement and training come with more money too? Because it should. If we're advancing up, we're getting more skills.
So we're not going to take people at their word. And what I don't want, because this is a recipe for incredible resentment, to just bloom and blossom, okay, is for you to just go, well, eventually they'll see that I'm worth it and they'll just pay me more. Oh no, that's not a plan. We're not relying on that.
No.
So what I would do, if you want to cut back on resentment and give yourself the best opportunity of actually treating this like a real shit sandwich, which is I'm doing something that's not quite delectable to me because I'm trying to get somewhere, then we need to be, well, first of all, we need to be clear on where you're going.
Yes,
Do
that's
you
another
actually
piece
know
of this too.
What is the shit sandwich you're eating for? Because if it's very hazy, it's easy to get resentful if you don't even know why the hell you're doing this.
I think this would be a very different conversation if Yuba Love was taking this job and saw that it was directly launching her into something that felt truly exciting. Right. And in the meantime, she was going to have to potentially take a pay cut because she's learning some new skills and starting from a different place than before.
If it was the chess game, like it was like, this is one move and I can see the next 4 or 5 and I'm going to take it. Can you see the chess moves, Yuba Love? Because at this point, I am not convinced based on this email that you actually see the strategic moves that you're going to be taking after this.
I get the sense that you hope and believe that it will lead to something that feels better. But if you don't have any kind of idea of what that might look like or how long it might take or where you are in that process of getting to that bigger vision, then taking a pay cut, especially a substantial one, in the meantime, it's like, wait, why am I doing this again?
Yeah, you need to be real clear on why you're doing something if you're going to eat that big of a shit sandwich, or else you're going to very quickly feel like it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we need a clearer sense of where you want to go. And is this actually on the route?
Is this the path?
In which case it might balm a little bit of, okay, well, sometimes I don't get every single thing that I want instantaneously. Sometimes I work my way up to it, and that's normal. That's life. And it still doesn't mean that you can't ask for and advocate for more in this current job.
You should do both. Yeah. You should have a plan for how this is going to get you where you want to go. And you should know where you want to go and where this is going to launch you to. And if you don't, well, we need to do some coaching. And you also need to have a plan for how you're going to advance currently in this job in the near future. So what I would do is, at the very least, I would have my own intention about when I'm going to ask for more money. Like in like 6 months or something, I'm going to ask for a raise, or I'm going to bring up getting a bonus or something. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to take it to the next level, you would actually plan out and have those conversations with your employers about like, listen, you do your market research. You'd say,
yep,
I'm already getting underpaid and I believe that I was worth more. And you know what? I wanted a job. I wanted the opportunity. I decided to say yes. And now I've been here for 6 months and I've done X, Y, and Z. And I believe that I deserve this. Like you would actually make that case after certain periods of time and you would stay on it and you would bring it up and you would not relent.
Yes. And again, you can ask, does not necessarily mean you are going to get it. But what this does create is more of a feeling of agency, of feeling empowered instead of feeling like you're at the effect of someone else determining what your time is worth.
Yep. Like you're just sitting around waiting for people to notice that you're worth something.
Of course you would resent that. Anyone would resent that.
And if that's what you're doing, it's partially on you because it's not other people's job to sit around and notice that you're worth something. You got to make it clear that you are.
Yeah. We're asking you to advocate
for your own damn self, which you probably should have done before you took this job.
And that's okay. You can still do it. You can still do
it.
But I hope that plants a seed for any future job. You can, and I don't like to use the word should, but in this case, I'm going to use it. You should advocate for yourself.
Yes.
Early on in the process. But it's not too late.
Do you like that the community center in my neighborhood is like blasting their music right now?
I don't think you guys party mid-afternoon.
It's like 2:00 on a Wednesday. Why the hell are you playing like guitar that loudly?
I hope the microphone didn't pick it up.
Well, it might have. And if so, I'm sorry.
There's some electric guitar going on. They're having a blast down there.
So, all right, Yuba. I mean, I don't know. When you ask Krachel for advice, this is what you expect to get, right? You expect to get the truth. And it's not going to be super sugar-coated. It's going to be realistic and pragmatic. And also, I hope compassionate in a tough love kind of way.
And because I believe hopefully empowering.
Yes.
Obviously. What we didn't say is, well, this is just a shit sandwich and be okay with it for the time being. And it's going to lead to something better. And that's that. Or we're saying you can and maybe should be making more money. Let's ask for that. And let's make sure this is going where you really want it to go, to infuse a little bit more purpose into this stage of the process. I hope that feels good, even if it's a little bit.
Even if the part where we called out you maybe not advocating for yourself when you got it was a little bit of a sting. Well, sometimes we need that.
And it's not just a call out to you, it's a call out to a lot of people who probably didn't negotiate for their current job or are terrified of doing it.
Didn't ask enough questions because they just wanted any job, or they just were so desperate to get out of their old one that they didn't ask enough questions. It happens all the time. There's nothing wrong with you for having landed in this situation, but now we got to get our way out of it in the best way possible without you getting too resentful in the process. So, all right, well, definitely want an update from her.
Please.
Maybe she needs to like cool off before she sends us an update. I don't know.
I think she'll take it well.
I think so. Okay. Also earlier you used balm as a verb.
How? I don't remember.
You said it would balm it instead of soothe it. You said something like that.
It would be a balm.
Yeah, but you didn't say it would be a balm. You were like, it could like balm things. I'm like,
I kind of like
verb.
I kind of like it. I might start using that on purpose.
I sort of doubt that you're going to do that. But anyway, I just had to call you out for bad grammar because you don't like bad grammar. And so I
appreciate it because I do, because I don't, I
don't frequently make mistakes. So when I do, I need to know a bit so I can correct it automatically.
Exactly. I mean, I am the grammar police, so you got to call me out.
That's the only thing that you ever really police.
Yeah. And I'm pretty intense about it.
Yeah.
It's one of the only things where
I police everything else.
And I get very persnickety.
Yeah. You are kind of uptight about grammar.
Everywhere I go, I become the proofreader. In every circle that I ever land in.
I should
friends, family, jobs, I always turn into the proofreader.
I should hand you my phone and have you go through Hinge every once in a while.
Oh, God, that's a full-time job right there.
It really is. Well, now they're like down there doing like fairy. It's like there's like a harp. It was like a strumming of a harp. All right, we got to get out of here. I'm not dealing with that anymore. Okay, so now we're not doing Wednesday episodes anymore.
Yeah, so we'll see you next Friday.
On It's an interview with a normal person.
Yes, it is.
With your normal person.
It is.
I don't know who the hell it is or what you're talking about.
I am confirming as we speak.
Okay, so she doesn't know either. Okay, great. Well, maybe I'll listen in the airport.
I hope you do. That's right. You're gonna be leaving that day.
Wait, I haven't told anyone yet. Yes, I did, because they heard it in the Forever Alone.
Well, assuming that they've been listening to Forever Alone.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to the UK today. Well, no, not today. A week from today, as you're hearing this. And then I'll be gone for 2 weeks. So yes, I'm going to London. I'm going to Scotland for all of you who've been following Forever Alone. I don't know. One just needs to show up and see what happens. I have been on Hinge
in Scotland
for a month at this point. Not much interesting has happened yet, but yeah, I'm there.
Yeah,
all you got to do is show up, which the message from the universe said a week ago. If you haven't listened to that, go back to last Friday and listen to our message from the universe from September, whatever that last Friday in September was.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, we'll see you next week then.
Bye.